The time it take to take it. The time it take to win. The time you made the greatest. Yeah. You made the greatest time of your life. Right now is greatness. You picked the perfect time in the world is right now. That time is greatness. I don't care how long it take. I don't care what storm you've been through. It's greatness. It's how legends was born. Greatness. I couldn't do it without the greatest group in the world. Greatness. I couldn't do it without the greatest nephew in the world. Greatness. I love my mama.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Prim and Proper Sports. I'm your host, Sonia Pearson. Thank you so much for joining us. That was really wild because literally as soon as I got ready to come on, I was kicked out of the studio. Shout out to you, StreamYard. All right, guys, got a very special guest on tonight. I hope everybody has had a great week. I am going to reintroduce him to some of you and introduce others to him for the very first time. It is the one and only. And when I tell you one and only, you know, people always say that all the time. It's the one and only. It's the one and only. But before we get there, let me make sure you guys download the Roku app, National Streaming Sports. Also, shout out to the Roku affiliates, Linda and Matt, the great production team. Now I'm going to introduce you guys and ladies to my guest tonight. It is none other than surprise Captain Jack, Las Vegas Raiders super fan. Captain Jack, thank you so much for joining me again. How are you tonight?
Well, first off, I got to do this. Yeah, Raider Nation. And remember, there's only one nation, and it's Raider Nation. I'm sorry, I got to get that out of the way because a lot of people forget it, and they
A
say
lot of
this
people
nation.
forget that.
And no, there's only one. Look it up. It's on the NFL website, Raider Nation. It just says it all. I'm saying.
Listen, and I am all for that. Captain Jack, we got a lot to squeeze in. That's why I went ahead and played all our credits and stuff early, because I know once we get on here and start talking, we literally lose track of time. It never fails. And so you just came back from the draft, like to be actually in Wisconsin. We saw you on TV when we were doing our draft party. I was like, oh my God, there's Captain Jack. I texted you immediately, like, hey, we just saw you on TV. How was the feeling? I mean, this isn't your first draft. So how was it though?
I will say that the crowds were nice, but it wasn't as packed as it was last year in Detroit, or as I like to call it, Detroit, when I do my show.
I say Detroit, the Detweezy.
Detroit Lyon. The Detroit Lyon. Yeah. But it was great. I will say this. I love the central region, the center United States. And yes, that includes the folks that are up in Kansas City, because as a whole, Kansas City, St. Louis, Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, those fans are the nicest, giving. They're awesome. They're awesome. They actually embody what I say: hate the team, but love the fans. And unless the fans are a-holes, and yes, I am watching my mouth for you, Sonia.
Thank you so much. Everybody knows when they come on here, they just be like, what can we say? I'd be like, please, I'm trying to be monetized.
Yeah.
And I'm a Christian.
And for those that don't know me, I swear like a sailor, because I am a sailor. I'm just saying that.
Yes.
But that not on Miss Sonia's, because we are prim and proper.
Right. I appreciate that, Captain Jack. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, we saw where the opening day had 275,000 people in Detroit last year, and like about 100 and some thousand this year. But I did see another person that attended the draft said they originally had like 200,000. They tried to squeeze everybody in one spot for like 45 minutes, and then finally they realized they were over capacity. So they sent some people to the stadium.
Yeah, and actually, I'm kind of bummed out because I didn't get a chance to go into Lambeau because I knew about the procedures of the draft. Because, like you said, this is not my first rodeo nor draft. I know as a dressed out fan, because I don't like, and I answer to the term super fan, but I don't like the term because it makes it sound like the people that dress out think that they are so much superior to everybody else, and that's not me. Yeah, Sonia is a super fan. Sonia's a super fan, whether she dresses out or not. You are a super fan if you are a true fan of your team, and it doesn't matter if you go to the games. If you have that ideology that it's me and my boys as a fan, you are a super fan as well. I like the term easily recognizable fan, but that just doesn't roll off the tongue. But going back to the point, this is Captain Jack's story. I started on the highway. I'll get you to the country roads, and I'll get you back on the highway. I know the pictures for when you go into the stadium. There are people that are selected to be in the inner circle, but then they have like basically the tagline where they will allow people to come in, and they will tag you to come into the theater. And on the first day, I literally was the first person in line.
Oh,
and
wow.
My buddy thought he was the first person in line, and he got in. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And he was I got into the inner circle for the very first pick, and it was nice for him. He is a local. He's from Wisconsin. We actually stayed at his sister's house. It was great. It was a great time with him. So I was happy for him, but I was pissed that I didn't get in because I've never been there for the first round. So maybe one of these days I will be lucky to slide in. I was there on that second night, though, and the procedure is you find the place where they do the on-call, and you slide over there. I was on my scooter, and thank God I brought my scooter, so I actually had a place to sit down while everybody else is hating life, standing.
Yes, for hours.
For hours. So when you had that Hey, what is it? Okay, one.
Oh, one
But
AP. That's Brian. Hi,
yeah, I'm
B. What's
just saying.
going on?
I'm reading it. I wasn't saying the A word because I am. I'm trying to be prim and proper here. But yeah, good to see everybody here. But I know the procedure, so we found that spot, and then the second night, the lady that basically selects people said definitely because she saw what I was wearing. She goes, "Come back tomorrow." Sure enough, zoom, we went right in on that
Yeah.
second night. So we still didn't hit the inner circle, but we were in the inner sanctum in the barricades. So when the Raiders made their pick, myself, Jake Steampunk, and Levi Baron Raider, we like zoomed up into the inner circle. Cameras were on us. So if you saw me, the guy who looked like a steampunk and the guy who looked like the voodoo guy. And by the way, folks, I'm going to say this straight up. He's gotten some flack because they think that he is living off there was a Raider called Voodoo Raider. It's different. It's a different character. It's a voodoo mystique, but he is of like a middle age, wears a kilt. It's a whole different vibe. So I'm saying that right now. Don't hate on Levi because he is genuinely the very nicest person. And I'm not just saying it. He is so nice. If you squeeze him, you're going to come out with sugar because he's that nice.
That's really nice. And hello to
Great
Carlos, and hello to you, Hooli. Thanks for joining me. Hooli's from the West Side, so he's familiar with Raider Talk. He's out in California. Truth Be Told podcast. Before we go further, you know what? Captain Jack, you have a podcast. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Oh, thank you for setting that up for me. I love you. If you can't find me, you're not looking very hard. I am on YouTube as well. Captain Jack Rackham, Rackem. The last name is Levy. Put it all together. Captain Jack Rackham Levy. That is my YouTube. I'm here on Roku as well. Although I got to talk to Linda. I'm making. I've had some issues with connectivity on channels, but I'm here on the National Streaming Sports Network as well. Maybe we'll talk offline, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can talk to me about that. I already know about that. I got your handle for that, Captain Jack.
Okay, good. But I am with them as well, National Streaming Sports, Roku. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitch. I'm not on X yet because I haven't spent the money to get, what is it?
That's crazy. They're charging everybody now for that. It's insane.
But I might eventually, but I'm there. If you can find Captain Jack, Rackem, Rackham in some iteration, you're going to find me on all of the things. Do not look for me. Do not look for me on TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I'm just saying there are reasons why. And
I have
son,
a TikTok that's very active, but I definitely get what you're saying.
There's a reason. I'm not saying,
yes.
But that's the only one I'm not on. I'm even on what's the one? Is it Twitch? Yeah, I'm on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm not even on that. So there you go. Well, so you guys heard it first. I guarantee you, by the time you look for Captain Jack, you don't even have to put the rest in. He'll come up. You can literally Google him. And
look for
he is.
Pirate. Come on, can you look at this mug? I mean, if you see it, I'm there. Okay,
he's there. He's there. I do want to tell you. I mean, of course, having that draft experience is super big. So excited that you got to the draft. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, and then we'll circle back to you guys' draft picks and what that looks like for the Raiders. Now, I'm sure you were in the midst of the draft. So what were the rumblings there about the Shedeur Sanders pick or the lack thereof in the first couple of rounds?
Yeah, and I know that's people have been. In fact, we talked about it on my show. There's a plug. We talked about that on my extra show last night. I went on when I got back because I hadn't been on my own channel. I had people covering down for me, and I want to thank all the people that do that when I'm on the road for this. It's an issue. And in fact, when you're in your bubble, when I'm in Wisconsin eating cheese and walleye, seriously, I like eating cheese and walleye. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is so very nice. Wisconsin. But you kind of get away from what's going on. So we were kind of detached because we were just draft. So the elephant in the room, other than me and my big belly, was obviously the Shedeur Sanders issue. And I had, and it was great because I had 2 African American, and unfortunately my age group, they're black. Okay, they're black. I'm not saying that as being a denigration.
No, I know.
Sonny's black. Okay, she can be African American,
Yes.
but for us old people, she's black. I won't go the earlier thing because I think that was denigration, but
Yeah.
The issue was that he dropped because he was black, and I go, this is the old John Pinette comedy routine. Oh nay nay nay, that John Pinette you do that. Oh nay nay nay. Shedeur Sanders, to me, in my opinion, and from what reports had been saying, he dropped because of allegedly, and I will have to use that term allegedly his persona, his demeanor, his major ego of the way he was going to the interviews per reports. And again, you can only go by what reports say. Per reports, he sounded much above everybody else. He allegedly, again, I have to throw the terms out there, so I'm not going to say that he did. Allegedly, he had on like his earphones, was listening to music, was not into the whole thing. Like he was Bo Callahan in the movie Draft Day.
Oh, wow,
He was Bo Callahan. And remember, nobody went to Bo Callahan's birthday party because Bo Callahan was an a-hole. See, I even cleaned it up for you.
Right.
There. Okay.
Don't worry, I use that same terminology on Saturday on the debate show talking about Shedeur. Yeah. So I literally said a-hole.
Thank you. And again, he is a capable quarterback. But I go back to if he played in the SEC, if he played in the Big Ten, and I know Colorado went to a different conference, and I'm not sure because they actually had to butch up their conference. He played in a higher conference, but the fact is, quarterback-wise, he wouldn't have been a starter in the SEC. That's why Jackson Dart was the second quarterback taken off the board, because it's conference play and what he did. Although Jackson Dart kind of choked against higher opponents, he still had the capabilities, okay?
They were a member of the Big 12 conference.
There you go, Big 12. So he played in a power conference. They moved out from where they were, like Mountain West or WAC, whatever they were. They moved into a power conference in Power 12. But Shedeur's record in big games was not all that. And again, I'm not denigrating him. He has the capabilities. He's going to be a good quarterback. The question is that he was projected. Honestly, most people projected him 3rd or 4th round as far as what you look at. The name Sanders bloated him up. Oh, he's a 1st-round pick because Dion's kid. I'm sorry to say, I think his brother is going to be a better football player. Shiloh, the kid that the Buccaneers got undrafted, he's going to be a fantastic football player because Shedeur is a chip off the old block. And again, Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer for a reason. His capabilities and what he brought to the game makes him that Hall of Fame player. But he's not prime time. He's not, Neon Deion. He's Shedeur. And he will need to go through the aspects of when he goes to training camp with the Browns, he needs to show what he can do. So he got knocked down a peg, but it wasn't because of the color of his skin. I'm sorry. Wasn't the first quarterback, actually the first player taken in the draft black in Cam Ward? Wasn't Jalen Milroe taken ahead of a bunch of other players? I think Milroe was like the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken, actually the 4th. It's not because of color. It's because of the personification of allegedly him blowing people off. And again, if you're saying that's the white guy saying this, I had 2 African-American / black people on my show last night say the same thing. It wasn't about the color.
Yeah, I've literally said that. Like, I don't want people to bring race into it whatsoever. This has nothing to do with that. And I've stood on that. Even before the draft, even before, he slid down, I was just like, like people could pull clips from my shows. I've talked about his arrogance this entire season. I've talked about it almost from the time they went to Colorado from Jackson, because I was like, this whole Prime effect should be only applicable to Prime. He's already earned his stripes in the league. These guys are not mature enough to handle that type of stardom. Tom Brady got on Shador during a game, because this was last year when they only won one game more. I think they won 2 games for the whole season. But Shador was out there pushing his merch during halftime. And he was like, hey, you need to be reading the playbook. You need to be meeting with your team during halftime. You shouldn't be out there on your phone or talking to your agent or whatever, sports agent that shares his merch. You shouldn't be pushing your merchandise on Instagram and doing lives when your team is in the back trying to figure out how they can win the game. And from that point on, that's when it got on my radar, because I was already like, oh my God, I'm so sick of Colorado. Every time you turn it on, there's Lil Wayne is there, or The Rock Johnson is there, or it just became a masterpiece. It just became a who's who of just rap, and just taken away from what the sport is. It became a fanfare of just rappers. And I get they want to support Dion. Dion's a coach, yay. He's a black coach, yay. I can get behind that, because you only have to accentuate that because they feel like so much time had gone by when it wasn't celebrated or when it was overlooked. And so I got that. But then when you come to the draft and people were talking about him, and I was like, he may go in the top 5. Let's not talk about his arm strength was not even 100%. This was not a quarterback saturated draft, Cap. This was, running back, wide receivers. So it was super competitive, as opposed to last year. He probably would have gotten in with the top 5 because everybody was there. Everybody was trying to do, show and prove and everything. But Shador, Ryan Clark got out there talking about he saw him take big hits and things like that. But the analyst is like, no, he took unnecessary hits. He put himself in the spotlight to be on that projection so that teams could look at him and make him more marketable. But then you did go to the Titans interview with your dad on FaceTime. You couldn't talk to the Titans without having your dad on FaceTime. Like, yeah, here's my dad. I've personally watched the clip. I know we all see reports and we can only go because we weren't in the rooms when the interviews were had. Right. But I've seen the clips. They're not AI generated, because I double check before I look. Because, this day and age, you have to be careful. So much is AI generated. Somebody could AI me and say a whole bunch of stuff that I never even knew about. And so this is just what it is. But he comes out, yeah, don't pick me if you're not trying to be this, that, and the third. And they were like, well, there was reporters. They were like, well, what about this? Well, do you know who my daddy is? Sir, nobody wants to put up with you in the locker room when you bring that type of I'm better than you already. I'm just here so I don't get fined type mentality, like Marshawn.
Love that comment. Yes.
And I literally hated that, Cap, because people tried to throw in the race so bad. It was irritating. And I'm saying that as a black person, of course. I'm saying that it was irritating to me that people's minds would be so pro Dion that they couldn't even see what was really happening. This dude was arrogant. He was egotistical, and he was an a-hole. And he has not tried to be humble in any sense of the word. And so in my opinion, I feel like what happened was, okay, I saw him being taken in the second round. I thought at the earliest 21 with the Steelers. When they went with a quarterback pick, in that first pick, I was floored. And when the Cleveland Browns in the second round made their first pick, another person, I was floored. That's when it became real to me. But it became real because in 2018, Dion put a clip out there before Shador was even thinking about going pro, and was like, you know what? If my sons go to the league, I'm going to get personally involved, and there's no way I'm going to let them play for this team because I'm Deion Sanders. And people want to come around and throw up, the Mannings. Well, look at what Arch Manning did. Yeah, but Eli Manning was a #1 draft pick with no holds barred. He was not questionable in any sense of the word. And with the exception of his dad making that comment, Eli didn't go in there with that type of attitude. I don't see any evidence of that being played out. that Eli came in there like, I'm a Manning. No, the name speaks for itself. When you are who you are, you don't have to come in there and say, I'm this person, I'm this person, I'm this person. And so Shiloh, who is much more humble, the most saddening thing was all the hoopla around Shador, all the groups of people every day talking about, they were celebrating him being drafted, blah, blah, blah. And then when Shador gets drafted, the crowd dens down. And then when Shiloh is finally picked later on as undrafted, it's just him and his dad. That to me was the saddest image because I was like, where's Shador? He hasn't left for his team yet. Why would you not? You know that they take undrafted agents all the time. It was already said Shiloh probably wouldn't be drafted. Where is his celebration? This is the reason that we have the problem. All the hoopla, the pomp and circumstance was around Shador, and he needed to be taken down a few notches. Now, I don't agree 5th round, but we know greatness has come out of the 5th round before. Greatness has come out of the 6th round. Tom Brady.
199. Yeah.
Yes. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. So at the end of the day, at least he is taken. But I will say this, Cap. They have a crowded quarterback locker room. And so he's going to have to go in there and work because there's too many other people that are already waiting to take that spot.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, and you can check me on this there, Sonia. I'm sorry. Every time I look at the screen for a while, I get my eye migraine. So it looks
okay.
like
we know you've been on live all day.
Well, no, I just got that, but it's the screen. And you're so beautiful, you just make my eyes water. So that's the reason why
thank
too.
You, Cap. You always be nice and flirtatious, but thank you for the compliment.
It's true though, but the eyes do water because of other reasons, and you. But the point is that we go back to the Cleveland quarterback room. You got Joe Flacco in there. Okay, they did. I think they drafted Dillon Gabriel over him.
They did before Shador.
Thank you. And Dillon Gabriel is an undersized, also he's a minority as well. He's Asian Pacific Islander, and he's maybe 6 foot tall. They call him 5'11". That's probably
5'11".
Yeah, 5'11", and I got something else that's 5'11". In height. See, you're thinking bad. But he's undersized. But at least he has, his character traits. And I like Dillon Gabriel because I saw him at UCF because kind of local. I'm in Florida. UCF was a great guy. He got the system out in Oregon. He's going to be a decent quarterback, a la maybe somebody smaller like Drew Brees, somebody smaller like Flutie. He's going to be a decent quarterback. Depends upon the system. So I don't know who else is there in Cleveland. I really don't. I know Deshaun Watson is going bye-bye as soon as they can get rid of him. And so you got Deshaun, Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, Shador Sanders, and another dude. I know there's 5. So
there's 5. Yeah, Shador. Yeah. They got Pickens. They got Pickens is there as well.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett, Pickett. At least 2 or 3 are going bye-bye. Okay. One. Why?
Right.
Is that me or is that?
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Cap?
I'm getting.
You're getting an echo? So that was me at first. Hang on, let me check my audio because at first I was doing. You hear me now?
Yeah, no echo now. We're good. We're good. I thought I screwed up or something. But no, they're gonna have a crowded quarterback room, and I don't know what they're gonna do. But I know that they're probably gonna get rid of Deshaun Watson at the. Oh, okay. I'm in here. I know it. I know Sonia's gonna be back soon. She's probably rebooting, so I'm just gonna go whack. Shador will need to show what he can do as a quarterback. As an individual, he's been knocked down a few pegs, but he's not his father, okay? He's got to show that he has the capabilities to lead a team and what he can bring to the team. Now, if he comes in there and is a team player and he gets the teammates around him, and it's not like, do you know who my daddy is? It doesn't matter who your daddy is. It's what you are as a person, how you project and how you are as a teammate. And I'm glad you're here because I was fixing it for as best as I could. But I think it'll be fun. I held it for you. I knew you were coming back.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, it you know, and I think that's going to be a debate that's going to go on for a long time. Even though people are like, well, now he's in the league, so he's in the league. Let's just show. But I'm gonna tell you this, Cap, and then we're gonna talk about your draft picks as we wrap up the last 30 minutes. This time runs by so fast. He better ball all the way out, because if he doesn't, and all these people have circled the wagons, I'm gonna have a lot to say to them, and I'm sure a lot of other people are.
Yeah. And again, he's not guaranteed a job in Cleveland. Okay.
Right.
I mean, if Deshaun would ever get his personal life together, he's a very capable quarterback. Okay. I mean, that's why they got him. I think they way overpaid for him. And Joe Flacco showed last year why they went and got a 40, or I think he's 40, a 40-year-old quarterback. Yeah. And look what he did. And okay, they had famous Jameis, who's since moved on to either the Giants or the Jets, one of those New York teams. So they go, hey, Rosalie, how you doing there, honey? So they got the and Pickett, took his movement out of Pittsburgh over to Cleveland. So and Dylan Gabriel and Shador. Now, here's the thing: for all the naysayers, if and when Shador does what he needs to do, he's going to have to beat out the pros on that team. They're going to have to beat out the guys ahead of him. He's going to have to beat out his draft mate in Dylan Gabriel. If he does that, then that's fantastic. He shows what he can do as a quarterback. If not, then he'll either be relegated to the practice squad, where somebody might be coming over and maybe picking him off if they need a developmental quarterback, or if he gets cut outright, it's been done. It's been done. Johnny Manziel was a waste product and went to Canada. Okay. Yeah. I believe a Hall of Famer by the name of Warren Moon showed his stuff up in the CFL and then came down and tore up the league. You got to make your bones, show what your performance is as a quarterback, and maybe you will make it. And I have nothing but positive things as a football player. I still don't like the attitude, because you're not your father. But you got to show how you are as a football player and how you fit in as a teammate. And I'm going to just say that.
Yeah, and of course, some people really gave him the business. The defensive coordinator of Atlanta, his son actually prank called Shador, and then they found out. So the Falcons have been fined $200,000, and the defensive coordinator has been fined $100,000. I don't know why the Falcons themselves are fined, because this guy was in his own house. This is one of your employees. I guess it goes down to liability, but I guess it was enough to make Dion hush, because it's Prime. He wasn't going to go for that. So the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. This is my thought on this, Cap. If the Falcons do not go and win basically the Super Bowl, they're going to be looking for a reason to fire this DC now, because he has cost them $200,000. I mean, it's chump change, but it's still a stain, and they really could have cost them a draft pick because of this. So basically, Jeff Ulbrich is his name.
Yep.
And he was fined $100,000, and the team was fined $250,000. And basically, the fact that they called him, and in this part, I felt it was heartbreaking, because the guy's already, finally eating humble pie. And so he's getting, you could just tell that. And this is the thing though, Cap. If you are trying to redeem your character, the last thing you should be doing during a draft is doing Instagram posts, showing your disappointment, showing your comments. Him and his dad, when New Orleans didn't select him, his dad talking about, oh yeah, we know what this is. We know what it is. And Shador's like, yeah, we used to this. We used to the haters. Sir, you are sliding down the draft poll. And so at this point, if somebody was going to take him, if Pittsburgh was going to take him at 21 and they saw this, they're like, oh, he hadn't learned his lesson. He's still very condescending. Just pass on him. That's my theory.
And again, Sonia, you were home, and when you're there and you don't know what's going on in the outside world, you know he's falling, and you hear the murmurings of all the people that are there. And we kept as a joke, and I'm sorry to say this, it's like, well, the Raiders are going to take him in their next. It's like, oh hell no! Yeah, well, and again, because they have the Brady thing going, they're like, oh well, the Raiders will take him. And every time the Raiders came up to draft, I'm like, and again, not because I hate on Shador, but I think that there's more players and a more building projects that the Raiders need to build as a team. They don't need a developmental quarterback who's not the greatest developmental quarterback of what we want him for. And for those that are, and again, I'm kind of getting away from, I'm going to tie the two together. The Raiders picked Cam Miller out of North Dakota State.
I was just about to talk about him.
The developmental quarterback. North Dakota State is coming like Penn State is linebacker you. North Dakota State is like quarterback you in getting all the quarterbacks. You got Lance, Wentz, even Stick, who's with the Chargers, out of North Dakota State. They're a powerhouse as far as what you can build on. Mallet, the other kid that they picked up, is kind of like the Julian Edelman project, where he's a former quarterback, slides over to a gadget receiver. And even the kid out of UNLV, and I can't remember his name, but he's got size, speed, he can run, he can pass. He's good to go, as a developmental guy. The Raiders did what they needed to do. They got, obviously, and I know we want to talk about Ashton Genty, they got the premier running back in this draft. And honestly, Sonia, and I'll admit to this on every channel that I'm on, I wasn't happy with that pick originally. And I will say this, okay? Ashton Genty was the premier running back, the best guy that was available at a position of need. But you could have Jim Brown in his prime being picked by the Raiders. If you got nobody in front of you to block for you, it's a wasted pick. And that's why I said the Raiders better make sure that they address the offensive line, and they did that. So I'm very happy now that I can look back and say this is what they did. They figured out we got the best running back. We need to make sure that we have blockers in front of Genty, because Pete Carroll is a pound. Then you come up and you suck up to stop the run, and that's when they start throwing on you. And Geno will be able to do that, providing the offensive line blocks. And I think we addressed that in all that we've done. So I mean, the Raiders actually got good grades from the.
I was gonna.
They always get grades.
Yeah. I want to take it back just a little bit. When you guys had the pick, let's see, you guys y'all had a couple of back-to-back picks. In round 3, when y'all had the 98th and 99th pick, I just knew y'all were going to grab Shador with one of those picks, like the follow-up. But instead, they got Caleb Rogers and Caleb Grant. So they took 2 Calebs back-to-back. Let's talk about your draft picks. Like you said, you guys did get an extremely great grade, A- overall for your draft. Pick round 1, pick 6, Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. Highly productive running back, known for his ability to break tackles and create explosive plays. He's going to be an asset to you guys because he can immediately upgrade your rushing attack, which has struggled in the previous season. And he also has leadership qualities, which is amazing for a rookie, which could be a significant asset. Round 2, you had the 58th pick right behind my Panthers. Jack Beck, he is definitely great. First of all, condolences to Jack. He lost his brother in the New Orleans attack on New Year's Day. So he was definitely honoring his brother on that day. Jack, the wide receiver out of TCU, versatile receiver with good size and athleticism. He is described as a player that does need multiple efforts to bring him down. He's physically tough, Captain.
And
what were your thoughts on those first couple?
He dropped 1 ball last year.
Wow.
And in fact, if you look at what Jacoby, I think, dropped 0 last year. Okay.
Yeah.
So you put Jacoby Myers, the guy that was the number 1 receiver after Devontae Adams left. Jacoby Myers catches everything that's thrown at him. Jack Beck dropped one pass. And so he has the size, and he's tough, and he fights for the ball. Dropped one ball last year, folks. And TCU does throw the ball around. And so I like that out of them. We needed the running back. We needed receivers, and we got, and I'm probably going to stick. I'm going to go position groups now.
Yeah, we're going to go to Darius Porter, the cornerback, round 3, pick 68. Yep.
Oh, man, and the Raiders we needed to get a corner on the opposite side. We knew that we had Jacorian Bennett, who's been going up and getting all of that experience. We got rid of Jack Jones because Jack Jones was a hit and miss. He gets you that pick 6, but then he'd play off and just play. I'm sorry, he'd be miserable. It's like, what are you doing out there? He'd give up a lot of stuff. And I know that he was the gentleman that when Antonio Pierce was even talking about him, and Antonio Pierce was his biggest asset, he says, I see a lot of our players making business decisions. He was talking about Jack Jones. He wouldn't come up into the fracas and do what he's needed to do, cover the receiver and make a tackle. And bye-bye, Jack. He was very well loved by showing off Patrick Mahomes on Christmas when he did the pick 6 on him.
Yes.
But one highlight. Gonzo. I loved it too, but he's gone.
Yeah, he's got a willingness to do whatever it takes on the field. He's going to add some depth to your cornerback room and really could be a starter, Captain Jack. Moving on to round 3, pick 98, Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech, the guard, offensive lineman with experience playing multiple positions. So you guys racked up on a lot of players that can do a lot of different things on the field.
Yeah, the back-to-backs at 98 and 99. That's when you saw me on the screen with my boys a lot. A lot of FaceTime there, and good pictures. I mean, how can you miss this mug?
How can you not?
They got, but the best thing that they did, like I said, and I got the intangibles on this one. Well, Porter, like you said, the cornerback, 6'2", 195, big, strong. What is a prototype? Pete Carroll, defensive back, big, strong, and will get you there. And then you got the 2 back-to-back with Caleb Rogers and then Charles Grant, guard and tackle, the big beef that you need to have up front, combined with the guys that we picked up last year, and JPJ at center and Glaze at right tackle. You throw 2 other big gentlemen in the mix with, obviously, Colton Miller, who's actually doing his voluntary workouts. People saying that he wasn't going to do that. He is contract, and he's there. So he's going to be re-signed for a couple more years, but if not, they're planning ahead. The big beef that you need to pass block and run block with Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers, those big boys up front, which they needed.
I mean, then you guys, like you said, you got 98, 99. You're round 4, Dante Thornton, a very tall, very fast receiver, big play potential. I mean, especially with the height. Wide receiver out of Tennessee, 22 yards per catch in college is dynamic, Captain. I mean, he's going to be considered a one-trick pony just with that alone, but he could be a vertical threat to you guys' offense.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you're talking about Beish and Jacoby Myers, which catch everything in sight. But if you don't have somebody to spread the field, they're going to sit on those short routes. And the Raiders did not have anybody to do that last year. And, their offensive line kind of didn't help out with the quarterback being inundated, with not being able to do it. Then you got, like noodle arm quarterbacks like Gardner. I call him Booger because he was, okay, about that. That's gross. But anyway, Booger could go to him. Geno Smith can at least take the top off of somebody, and Dante Thornton. And yes, I am SEC centric. I know what the kid can do. Big, strong, fast, and he can just take the top off of a defense, and then you have the whole field to work with because you're going to have to cover him. And we had somebody like that with Trey Tucker, but Trey's about like maybe 5'10", 5'11". You got 6'5" that runs a 4.33 and can catch. That's an asset for sure.
Huge. That's huge. Before we get to the next pick, Captain, let me ask you this, because I haven't had you on my show since Pete Carroll took over the reins as head coach. Antonio Pierce, of course, no longer there. He looked like he started out well, but Pete Carroll, old dog in the game, bringing him back after taking a Seattle sabbatical. I like to say the Seattle sabbatical. And I mean, he's back. I mean, I know the locker room smells like Wrigley's because he's got the freshest breath in the league with all that gummy chews. But him going back and getting Geno, going back getting Geno Smith, and I think at the time Geno was with the Jets when Pete was with Seattle. But the point that he would go back and bring Geno over to the Raiders, since that it shows that there's some type of connection there.
Yeah, and Geno was under Pete for 3 years in Seattle. By the way, Geno is a trivia question answer. Said, who was the quarterback that broke Eli Manning's streak of consecutive games? It was Geno Smith for the Giants, and they played the Raiders in Oakland. That's the answer to the trivia question.
Oh,
Geno
wow. Okay, so
1 week.
Geno was with the Giants too?
Geno was with the Giants. He came in for 1 week, and the head coach was gone like within weeks after that. And Eli came back after that one game. So Eli should probably have the record for most consecutives at that damn asterisk with Geno Smith was in there. It was against my Raiders. That's another reason why I know that. But I know what Geno can do, and he's always been, poo-pooed like just another guy. Geno is a top quality quarterback. Maybe not quite top 10, but he's definitely 11 to 12 to 13 in the league. And he's only going to be better with a better offense in front of him, more assets, and the defense that has been decent that gets better as well. Geno Smith is the guy, and there's a reason why Pete traded for him. And we only gave up a third. And by the way, the third that we picked up for him, it was the third that we got from the Jets for Devontae Adams. So basically, if you look at it, we traded Devontae Adams. I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, it's like you didn't have to give up anything. Round 4, you guys got Tonka Hemingway, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. He's going to add depth to your defensive line. Pick 180, JJ Pegues, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, another defensive tackle. And then round 6, second pick in round 6, you guys had a bunch in round 6. Pick 213, Tommy Mello, the quarterback out of Montana State. Now, I'm going to be honest. I had to read up on him because I never heard of him. He's a versatile athlete who played quarterback in college, but could transition to wide receiver. So do you see him being one of these players that comes in and does, like, I like to call it the Taysom Hill, when like New Orleans plays Taysom Hill in so many different positions?
Yeah, not necessarily. By the way, JJ Pegues, SEC guy out of Mississippi, he plays lead back in goal line. At Mississippi, they would have him come in and do the blocking for their running, and as well as he'd be Refrigerator Perry, and they'd give him the ball a lot. And so it says 6'2", 309. You throw him a couple more sandwiches, and he'll be out to about 325, 330. That's your lead back, okay? So that's your gadget guy, as well as Mellett. Mellett is going to be, and it's fun, or actually it's fun to know that Tommy Mellett and Cam Miller played each other in the SCS championship game. They were the two opposing quarterbacks for that championship game. And again, Mellett projects as a Julian Edelman, very smart, very crafty, has a decent frame on him. And again, you know how good Julian Edelman was as somebody that catches and throw and knows the game, and you can run gadgets off of him. And Cam Miller as the projected guy to learn behind, and I think he's going to make it. I think they both might make it, if one might not go to the practice squad. But that also portends well to AOC 12. I'm going to throw this out. There's only one AOC in the world, and she's from New York. That's not the quarterback for the Raiders. It's AOC 12. So AOC 12 as the backup quarterback, Cam Miller, and JJ Pegues again. The big beef on the defensive line with Pegues and Tonka Hemingway. Great picks in the rounds that they had them in. And again, Mellett and Miller as well. And then obviously, and
the last pick, 222, Cody Lindbergh.
Yep, Cody. So now we got, it's the Berg brothers, okay? because they had a linebacker last year out of the Ohio State. His name here, okay, and he's and they're both Big Ten linebackers. They're get in there, tackle, rangy, and they go for the tackles. So you got the Berg from last year with Lindenberg from this year. You got the Berg brothers. The Raiders have needed to do something with linebacker, and they went out and in free agency they got the kid from the Steelers. They ended up getting they got White from the Bucks, who is a prime player. Then they got the one for the guy from last year with Lindenberg. And I tell you, and yes, I am biased, but they got the two Amaris on the team, Bernie and Cooper. And the other, there's two Amari. And I'm a Bernie guy because he's a Gator. These guys are fast and can cover. So the linebacker core is not as barren as people think. It's going to be a better linebacker core for the Raiders for sure.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I mean, overall, basically, you guys have prioritized your offensive weapons for Geno Smith. Genty is going to provide immediate upgrade at the running back position. Beck and Thornton is going to offer potential in the receiving course. And Melo's versatility could be a unique addition. It's interesting to see that because these are all rookies and they're going to be coming in starting immediately. Like they're not going to have anybody to really shadow. The line depth that you guys are looking for is going to come from them, but the selection of Rodgers and Grant addresses the need for depth and potential future starters on the offensive line, which is going to be crucial for protecting Geno and establishing you guys' run game. You got to work on your run game. Your defensive depth on the other side of the ball, you guys added depth to your defensive line with Hemingway and Pegas, and Porter also adds that cornerback strength. Lindenberg is going to provide your linebacker depth. Now, Pete Carroll, you guys' coach, who is awesome. I just always love Pete Carroll. And your general manager, Spatek, emphasize bringing in tough, high-effort players, which is definitely evident based on the descriptions of these picks in the draft, especially with Genty and Beck. Now, you guys did get an A grade, because the consensus is that they addressed the needs, particularly on offense, and found good value throughout the draft. I'm talking about the Raiders, guys. We lost Captain Jack, but I'm sure he'll be back. Any remaining need that the Raiders would need on their team would be basically addressed with looking for depth of the linebackers, potentially another edge rusher through free agency, which Captain Jack talked about. And overall, their draft class appears to have significantly added to their talent on offense and provided valuable depth and defense and offense on both sides of the ball. Very good with depth there. The emphasis on toughness and addressing key positional needs suggests a positive direction for the team under the new leadership with Pete Carroll as coach. Now, we lost Captain, so he's probably telling me something happened, but we are at the end of the show anyway. So let me just address a few other newsworthy items. We had Captain Jack on here tonight. He was definitely representing his Raiders, Raider Nation. He said it's always gave an overview of his time with the draft, and we talked about each one of his picks. We appreciate everybody that came on, liked and commented and participated. Let's talk about some NBA news as I get ready to wrap up tonight. A lot of teams are in playoff contentions at the very last minute. Of course, we are looking at tight races, a lot of 3-1s. You got key scenarios. The Cleveland Cavaliers 4-0 against Miami Heat. They didn't win not one game. This is definitely a new year where you see the Heat not winning not one game. The Cavaliers swept the Heat in the first round. Oklahoma City, OKC, 4-0 against the Grizzlies. My question is, does Ja Morant have a situation? Would he have been positional in making sure that the Grizzlies were more competitive? Thunder swept the Grizzlies right on out in the first round. Denver Nuggets are 2-2 versus the Los Angeles Clippers right now. Their first round scenario is tied. We know also the Orlando Magic versus the Celtics. Was there ever a thought to think that the Magic were going to do anything to Jason Tatum and that top tier, top heavy Celtics offensive team? The last game they won 103-98, winning their first series round 4-1. Key performances, of course, Jason Tatum, 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. Los Angeles versus Minnesota T-Wolves. T-Wolves, of course, defeated the Lakers 116-113, another close call, taking a 3-1 lead in their first round series. I thought Captain Jack was back, but I don't see his camera yet. Golden State Warriors versus the Houston Rockets. The game is currently in progress. I think it should be wrapping up any minute. Warriors hold a 3-1 lead in the first round series. And, Pacers and Bucks, of course, 4-1. Bucks 1-4. I don't think they're going to turn that around. Most teams, the stats are 95% of teams that actually have that much of a lead never come back. Here's Captain Jack, speaking of never coming back. Captain Jack, I had to go to NBA because I didn't know if you were coming back.
No, I was hitting that reload. So I saw the spinning circles of death. I'm like, I didn't touch anything.
That's what happened to me earlier. I didn't touch anything and it just kicked me straight out. I don't know what it is. But anyway, welcome back, Captain Jack, guys.
I would never leave without saying goodbye to you, honey. I would never.
I know you were so kind. So let me I don't know if you even heard the last part of what I was saying about you guys' draft analysis. I do want to talk about it as we wrap up the last 3 minutes here. Captain Jack, basically you guys got an A because it looks like both sides of the ball, you addressed your depth, linebacker. You guys could still go out to some other edge rushers in the free agency. Your draft class has significantly improved your talent on offense and provided depth on your defense and on both sides of the ball, basically addressing key positional needs that you guys have. This should be a clean slate for you guys on the new leadership.
Yeah, and actually, I got rid of windows just to try to help out because I wasn't sure if it was a me or a you issue. So I actually had, not only did the Raiders do well in the draft, but they have about 15 undrafted free agents, which they signed, more linebackers, more offensive linemen. I didn't see any running backs in there, so I'm sure that they probably got somebody there. I did talk about the undrafted free agent quarterback out of UNLV. I had the list, but they got a safety and he's either a safety or cornerback from Kansas, which should have been like a end of the day 2, early day 3 pick, and he was at UDFA as well. So they went and got beef, and I think they said he had like 4 pick sixes, so maybe he's a cornerback in the league last year. The kid from Kansas. Don't ask me his name because I got rid of the screen just to make sure that
he's a what? Back. What's his position?
He's a cornerback, or I'm pretty sure he's a cornerback, but he did like 4 pick sixes out of Kansas.
Okay, I'm gonna find out who he is.
Yeah, and then they got a guy by the name of Ja. It ain't Ja Rules. I know that's like a rapper or something, but it's Ja. But and he is a defensive end edge rusher who played for, I think, Minnesota and Florida State. So he has
now, you know what? Let me tell you why you remembered his name. This guy, everybody should remember this guy's name. It's definitely a name that rings people's Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant? Okay.
Kobe with the C is who you're talking about with the 3 interceptions. And then they got Noel Williams as well. And they got Mello Dotson.
There you go, Mello Dotson. That's the kid out of Kansas I was talking about.
Okay, yeah, all of these. They said he had recorded his 3rd career pick 6. All these guys had put up big interceptions for Kansas as college kids. So, yeah, Captain Jack, I mean, it's always great to have you on. I feel like we need to do a part 2 because our time is already up, but we'll be definitely – let me get your quick projection. What do you think the Raiders do this year as far as a record now that you guys have got a new coach, got a new quarterback, got a bunch of new players?
Well, I mean, we were 4 and whatever last year. I said 4 and whatever. So I don't do the math. Was it 4 and 13? We will definitely be better than 5 and 12. Okay, because again, I always go for the thing. We're going to be better. How much better depends. People are saying 9 to 10 wins. I can see that. I can see more. But when you look at the projection, the AFC West, I'm sorry, is the toughest division in football when you look at Kansas City, when you look at a Charger team that has been, shooting themselves in the foot for a while, but trying to get that next stake of claim, the Broncos made a big leap forward last year. This is our turn to leap up, and we are going to be in the toughest division of football. So remember, we beat each other up, and we're a better team. So I think, yeah, I can see 9 or 10 wins, and that's a conservative estimate. I'm not going to say we're going to the Super Bowl, but 9 or 10, I can see that.
Yep, 9 or 10. And with that, our time is already over, guys. We appreciate everybody for the likes, love. Definitely appreciate you, Captain Jack, for coming on as always. And until next time, we will see you guys tomorrow morning, the next day, the next afternoon. Nothing but shows here on the network. And we bid you all a good night. Thanks, Captain Jack.
You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.